Welcome to the Video Creators Podcast. We help YouTube creators grow their audience and business with next-level tactics and strategies. Want to accelerate your channel's momentum, be more profitable, and change the lives of more people than ever before? You're in the right place. The Video Creators team has over a decade of experience providing YouTube strategy for brands like Disney, Warner Brothers, HBO, and even YouTube themselves. So far, our team is responsible for helping clients generate over 17 billion views on YouTube. And now, to help you, here's Tim, Lennon, and Delana.
Hello, creators! It's great to see you guys, and welcome back to another Video Creators Podcast episode where we give you advanced tactics to help you get over your plateau, grow your channel, and help you reach your goals. Reach more people, change their lives. On this podcast, we are really dedicated to just being an open box. Like, we don't really want to have secrets. We don't want to just fill you with good ideas. We just want to give you the good stuff, you know? And whenever I was writing this episode, I actually tried to make it about things that we work on with clients that we don't share here in our episodes. And then as I was writing it, I was like, we share all of this. We give them all the good stuff. So in this episode in particular, I wanted to cover some of the unpopular YouTube analytics that we do press with the creators that we work with because they are so important. And first of all, knowing where your channel is, knowing what's actually working or not working on your channel, so that it informs you on the next steps that you need to take and where you need to focus. And so I've got 5 of those unpopular YouTube analytics features for you guys today. So let's get into them. But first, I have here with me Tim, and only Tim.
Only me. Yep, that is gone.
So sad. I think this is the first episode that we're recording together.
Yeah, that's true. Him. The two of us without him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Off running his own business, being a big boy.
Being a boss man. Love it. So Tim, I have a question for you. What's the most interesting or odd thing that's on your desk right now?
Most interesting or odd. I have this spacer that goes between, like, that you use to space like a television, like mounting a smart TV to like a wall mount or something, and you need spacers so you don't like put the screw all the way through the screen. I got one of those. And then I have another screw that I assume goes with it, but it looks too short, so I'm not really sure where it came from. It's just sitting here.
What are you trying to space out on your desk?
Nothing. It's just sitting here. I have other random, like I have a little pile of random things that I just fidget with my finger, like with my hands while I'm talking, doing interviews or consultations or whatever. I just always got to be doing something with my hands. So I just pick up like random stuff and it just sits here and I just play with it.
Mine is a pen. I'm always holding a pen when I'm talking to clients. So I'm like always going like this. And then whenever they can't see my hands, I'm like fiddling it around.
A pen looks sophisticated though.
It does look a little sophisticated.
A screw does not.
Well, I have the most interesting thing that I have no idea where I got this, but I have a giant calculator.
Oh my goodness. That's bigger than your head.
I know. I was like, I found this the other day not the other day, I found it months ago whenever I was unpacking some boxes. And I was like, where the heck did this come from?
Do you use it?
I have used it, but it doesn't work very well. It's like running low on battery or something. So I've tried to use it, and
to
my desk isn't
that size.
Yeah, my desk isn't huge, so it takes up like a fourth of my desk. So I'm like, it's really impractical.
It's so impractical.
But it's really fun. You know, I mean, if you're somebody with like really bad eyesight, I feel like it would be good for you.
Yeah, and really bad aim with your fingers. Like, it's hard to miss those pads. My goodness.
I have no idea where it came from.
You could like get a workout doing math on that thing. You got to move so much to get from one key to the next.
I'm going to build my biceps and triceps and move my arm around.
I just do command space and then type my math equation in on my Mac and it just gives it to me. So pretty simple.
Oh, that's a good idea. I've never done that before.
There's your power tip for later.
I know, apparently. The first unpopular YouTube analytic that I have for you is going to be the subscriber conversion. The subscriber conversion is something that you will technically crunch the numbers on yourself, so it's kind of a secret thing, but it is really telling of how you are connecting to your audience, basically meaning how many people are coming to your content, they watch one of your videos, and then they actually want to stick around. How many of those people actually turn into subscribers from the views that you're getting? And this I like to dive into this one because we do get a lot of questions about like, okay, I'm getting a lot of views on my content, but it seems like I'm getting so few subscribers whenever I put it next to all of the views that I'm getting. And there's this disconnect for a lot of creators. And that's what your subscriber conversion can tell you. It can also tell you whether, yeah, go ahead.
I think a lot of creators are just looking at their total number of subscribers and just wanting that total to go up. But by turning it into a conversion rate, it's a little easier to compare date ranges and not just like a total numbers, but like, okay, maybe you got 5,000 subscribers last month, but you only had 500,000 views versus this month you got 10,000 subscribers, but you had 5 million views. Like, well, your growth rate just went down, not in terms of viewership, but in terms of like how you had a video in that scenario anyway, that took off and wasn't converting very well. Just a really broad appeal, but piece of content, but didn't get anyone to really care about what else is coming or something, you know? So yeah, having that conversion rate lets us compare how we're doing over time as opposed to just like, what's that big number right there?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that it's really beneficial because, you know, you and me have we are fortunate in that we get to see a lot of different channels and all of their analytics, and we can confidently say, oh yeah, that's totally normal. You know, we know what average conversions are and average percentage viewed and all these things. And so whenever we look at those analytics, we don't think anything of them because we're like, okay, like all these other channels look the same and it's a good, healthy rate to us. But then most creators, they only see their own analytics, and I can tell they sometimes feel like I'm okay with these numbers, but are those good numbers? Like, I think I'm okay with them if they're considered good, you know? And stuff like that, which is where I would like to tell you,
they're good. We'll help you make it better.
Yeah, exactly. But then also I want to take this opportunity to let you know what a good average conversion is whenever you actually go to calculate this. And it's going to be anywhere between 1 to 3%. And that's going to depend on how broad your appeal is within the video topics that you had, maybe that month, or the most popular ones on your channel or something like that. And it can also depend on how small your niche is. Sorry. It can also depend on how small your niche is, meaning that like if you have a smaller niche, you might hit a higher subscriber conversion because you have a smaller pool of people that are interacting with your content versus one that's a really broad appeal. You have a bigger pool of people that are interacting with that content. So it's going to, not in a non-healthy way, it will still be healthy, but it'll bring that subscriber conversion down. I've only seen a high subscriber conversion, like it was a 3.5% subscriber conversion on one channel that I was working with, but they were doing something super, super unique within a niche that has a really broad appeal. So that's where you can get something, you can get higher sometimes in that broader appeal, but you got to be doing something really, really different.
I think it's important too to consider like how old the channel is. Like a channel that's been around for a long time, like ours, probably isn't having the same conversion rate it did like when it was small, because you only have like you have a smaller subscriber pool to come from. So like the more active subscribers you get, if you're assuming your growth rate in terms of total numbers of subscribers stays the same that you're earning each month, then the more subscribers you get, the more it'll go down. So in order to keep the growth rate the same, you have to get the growth rate to match the subscriber engagement rate, right? So, and then if you have like shorts on your channel too, like that could impact this metric. So, yeah. How would we find this metric, by the way? I don't know.
So you'll go to your YouTube studio, and then you'll go to your analytics within the YouTube studio. You'll click on advanced mode in the top right corner of that analytics page. And then you'll hit, there's all that tab, all those different tabs across the top in advanced mode, and you'll hit subscription status. And then you're going to, down where the metrics are, there's this little tiny blue plus sign where you can add another metric. And you're going to click that, and you're going to add subscribers gained. And then you're going to calculate that difference. So you're going to look at the non-subscribed viewers down at the bottom where the metrics are. You'll grab the number of non-subscribed viewers, and then you'll figure out, and you'll take I always get confused on how the correct wording for this, but the subscribers gained, what percentage the subscribers gained is of the amount of non-subscribed views that you received within whatever content you're analyzing. So
do you ever filter, do you use the date published filter for this to only look at content that's been published, let's say this year versus content last year, so that you're not taking into account, I guess you would do that if you want to know, is the new content I'm publishing actually helping my channel grow versus do I just have like 3 big videos on my channel that is like floating everything?
Yeah.
Would you use that at this point too, or is that kind of getting too far in the
you
weeds?
can. I think it's important to know on both levels, because even with top performers, so channel overall, as well as, what are you doing right now? Your most recent uploads, is that converting subscribers? But then also looking at it on a channel overall level, because what you'll notice is how the channel overall, say that you have like 2 or maybe 1 to 3 top performers on the channel that are driving a lot of traffic to the channel. If you calculate the conversion on those, you'll notice month to month, it's going to fluctuate. Like it's going to go up and it's going to go down as that video goes up and down. And I think, as creators, we need to be okay with and find it normal to see that fluctuation. And so I think it should be done on both levels. But it is really important to also use the publish date filter, which we can talk about next, actually.
Oh, sorry. Was that in here?
No,
I haven't looked through your notes.
I think I have it towards the bottom, and so I think
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, sorry about that. I just find that filter to be so helpful because like kind of where I was going with that is people just look at the overview analytics, and then they decide whether or not their current content strategy is helping them grow or not. And that's the wrong way to look at it, because it happens all the time. Like we use that, and then you filter out like the videos that have just been published this year or in the past 90 days or something. And then you have like a negative subscriber growth, and people are like, what? Like, we're like, all the videos I published in the past 90 days or all of last year, none of them actually helped my channel grow. Well, it depends on how you define grow. If you're talking about the subscribers, then no. If you're talking about relational connection, then maybe yes. If you're talking about sales, maybe yes. It's kind of, we're just talking about one metric here, and that's subscribers. And that's not even that important of a metric anymore on YouTube. So, but it's still helpful to know.
Yeah, it's not in terms of like, how do I just get more subscribers? This is more telling of, am I connecting with my audience?
Is someone at least making an indication of like, okay, I didn't hate this. I could watch another one of these. Sure, why not?
Yeah, I think you made the point earlier that like the subscribe button is kind of more like a like feature than it is I want to stick around now, because YouTube search and discovery systems are getting so good at what they do that we hear more and more that people are like, I don't even feel the need to subscribe to the channel.
Channels I watch regularly, I have not subscribed to.
Same.
And it's not just me. I like this is kind of how the platform works now. So we stopped telling our clients to even ask for subscribers years ago.
Oh yeah.
And it hasn't had a negative impact whatsoever. In fact, I don't want to get off.
Only positive.
Yeah. Okay. That might be a whole nother episode that people want to hear. What? You don't ask people to smash like buttons and subscribe buttons? Nope.
Not worth it. Anyways, I think that we should talk about the publish date filter now, because these ones
go for it. Sorry.
These ones go hand in hand. No, I think it was good because it fits more naturally here.
Kind of just jumped right into it. You guys, the publish date filter basically lets you filter out all the videos you've published since in a certain date range. So instead of looking at the whole channel, you can be like, I only want to look at videos that are published in the last 90 days or between this date and that date. And now you're only looking at content that applies to videos that were published inside that date. So it lets you isolate your data into just certain videos or date ranges of videos.
I am passionate about this feature.
Oh, I know. Oh, I don't know, but I am too. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, because, particularly whenever working with creators, it's so easy for them. Like, I see every week, creators have the emotional connection that they have to their channels, and every single channel ebbs and flows. Every single channel, no matter how perfect your strategy is, no matter even if you're Mr. Beast, your channel ebbs and flows. You're going to have months where those views are higher. You're going to have months where those views are lower. So what you're looking for is a general trend upwards. It's going to be an upwards, but it kind of goes like up and down as it goes upwards, but it's a trajectory. That line is going
like a stock market type of thing.
Exactly. That's what we're looking for. We want our YouTube channel to mimic the stock market.
Well, it depends on when. But
yes. Not during a recession, but...
By the way, I want to point out that when you've hired a good YouTube strategist when they use words about passionate in the same sentence with publish date filter. There's not too many other people who are like, I am passionate about these analytics. So I think I made a good hire here.
Yes. And I will tell you why, because I think it is incredibly important for a creator's mental health, just to be honest, to see, because a lot of times they sign into YouTube, and if they're not familiar with these features, then they'll just see what YouTube tells them of like, oh, your channel is down over the past 7 days or past month or whatever it is.
People hate you now. Yeah.
I know. And that's what it feels like to creators.
I know.
Like, looks like
I worked so hard on that. Why am I going backwards?
Yeah. And so I think that that's just it's so misleading, because it is telling you that information on a channel overall level. Now, they're getting better with how they're breaking down. Like, if you scroll just right underneath where it says how your channel is doing overall this week or this month, if you scroll right underneath that, you can see your recent uploads, videos that are trending, things like that. So they're getting better about that for sure. But it's two things. It's the mental health of it, to know do people actually hate me, or is this just
how would you find out if that answer is yes?
That's
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
It's important for the mental health, but then also the effort that you're putting into your channel. Is it actually working, or are you just wasting time with the current uploads that you're doing? And you don't see that on what YouTube tells you whenever you sign into that first page, that first analytics page. So that's where the publish date filter does come in, and you can separate all of your recent uploads over the past week, past 28 days, past 90 days. I recommend 90-day increments. It's really, really good. That's where you get some of the most solid data. But you should also look at it in past 28 days. Try to get as much data as you can. But 90 days is where we tend to get our most valuable data.
And that is assuming a posting schedule of once a week?
Yeah, 1 to 3 times a week. Yeah.
Okay.
But even if you post every day, still 90-day increments are super valuable, because it's not just the amount of data that you have, it's the time in which that content actually had to find its audience. Because not every video hits right away. I have a client who consistently, she'll upload a good video the first week. It doesn't really do anything. And then about 7 to 10 days later, it starts to gain some traction. And then 2 weeks to a month later, it's exploding. And that happens pretty regularly on her channel. And so that's where you start to look at that 30 to 90 day increment is usually the most valuable data.
And if someone's not familiar where to find the publish date filter, did we already say where to find it?
No, we haven't. So you will go to YouTube Studio, Analytics, and then back into advanced mode like the previous feature. And then right underneath where you see your channel name at the top, there is this little gray filter button, and you'll hit that, and then you'll see the option for a publish date. Once you click that, you'll select the date range that you want to analyze. And then after you've set that, you're not done. After you set that, you're then going to go over to the date range that's in the top right corner of the advanced mode, and you're going to make sure that that date range corresponds with the same date range that you put in the publish date filter. Otherwise, it usually defaults to either the past 7 days or the past 28 days, and you may be looking at the past 90 days of uploads, and you don't want to see how they uploaded, how they performed just within that 28 day range. You want to see the entire time that they were available.
So just to be clear, what you're basically talking about here is like, don't just assume that the content you're making is actually helping you grow.
Yes.
Don't look at the overview stats and just assume that you're heading the right direction when really you might not be at all. And so the publish date filter, in terms of being like an analytic that's just absolutely necessary for growth, you just absolutely can't tell if you're even if your current content strategy is helping you grow or not without this thing. Mm-hmm. And it's just like this little hidden feature, and there's like a little thing, and we're like, oh my gosh, like, why is that so hidden? And in terms of subscriber conversion, like that actually helps us also do something similar with the publish date filter, or even without it. Just like, is my content helping me grow? And what does my trajectory look like? Is my conversion rate improving, or is my conversion rate stagnant or declining? So these are the types of metrics, like, you can't determine whether or not you're growing and if your current content strategy is working without these metrics. And I know I hear this from people all the time, but everyone tells me, like, I don't understand why your channel doesn't have more subscribers. You make such good content. Why? And I hear that too. And I'm like, well, if my content was good enough, I'd have more subscribers, you know? And so this can help us pinpoint, like, people lie, but data doesn't always lie. Although you can misinterpret data, but in terms of like what we're doing here, we found that these would be some ways to use analytics to evaluate growth. So
speaking of publish date filter, I want to talk about a metric that is also, it feels like a secret metric. It's definitely an unpopular metric, because most of the creators that I work with, they either don't know that it exists or they don't utilize it at all. And that would be the groups feature. So the publish date, it kind of works similar to the publish date, except that you can group anything together, no matter when it was published. You can put together a bunch of videos that have maybe a thumbnail with an orange background or orange text on it or whatever. Like, you're going to put all those into a group, and then you're going to compare those using the comparison feature. So once you select a group, and I'll tell you how to get there in just a second. So once you select a group, you can hit comparison, and you can actually compare two groups together. And what that allows you to do is take one aspect of something that you're doing on your channel, like a certain background in your thumbnails, and compare it to a different background in your thumbnail. So you put like 5 videos together of a different background that you have. This can also work for topics that you create on your channel. Take all the videos that you've made on one topic versus all the videos you've made on another topic. Which one generally tends to help you grow your channel and reach new audiences? And then likewise with maybe you have some videos where you told a story in those videos, and maybe they were a little bit more personable. And then some of them you were just very straightforward and to the point. Compare those two, figure out which ones your audience responds to better.
I remember the first time I started playing with groups seriously several years ago. And what I wanted to know was, at the time I was making all my videos in front of the sterile black backdrop. Look really clean, look really professional. But then I did like one video just sitting out in my lawn. There's like wind in the audio. It was like, and that video did really well. And I'm like, wait a minute. So I made a group of videos that had my black background in it, and then made more videos of me sitting out just in my backyard. And I compared the two groups, overall, videos of me out in my yard outperformed in terms of average view duration, outperformed me just in front of a sterile background. I think it just maybe felt more homey, more personable or something.
More organic.
And then I'm like, okay, but what if it was like a walk and talk? So I did another series of content. I think it was like 10 or 12 videos of, I hired a guy to come film me. I did a whole bunch of walk and talks out in this park and tried those as well. And I saw the walk and talks did like a little bit better than the sitting in the backyard, And so it was, if I didn't make groups, it would be really hard to know if that's the one thing that made a difference. But when you group all those videos together and look at like a group of like 10 of those videos all collected into one group, then it's a little bit easier to evaluate some of these changes we're making to our content strategy. And is it moving the needle the way that we want? Now, one thing I learned by doing it too is that I found that it's important to maybe take out the top performing video or two and maybe the bottom performing video or two. Cause sometimes I'll have a video and then there's like 3 million views and then the next video and there's like 20,000 views, right? And so the metrics of the entire group are thrown off because of that one video in there. And same with like a video that's just really underperforming for a completely different reason that's not relevant to what I'm trying to compare. So I will sometimes take out the top or bottom two performing videos from a group. So I have a little bit more of an apples to apples comparison. It's still not completely perfect, but it's the best way that we have to really evaluate, like you were saying, thumbnails with faces versus thumbnails without faces, thumbnail with text versus thumbnails without text, opening intros where I get right into the content versus opening intros where I welcome someone, it's like all these different things, even the style of everything. And it's a really, really powerful tool to be able to test things and see at a higher level, not just how did it make a difference in one video, but a collection of videos versus a different collection of videos overall.
Yep. I think every YouTuber needs to use it. Every single creator needs to be using YouTube Analytics or YouTube groups. And where you would find those is in your YouTube studio on the analytics. You're going to go back into advanced mode again. And you are going to, at the top left of your screen, it's like your channel name. It looks like it's in a little tiny search bar. You're going to click on that. And then at the top, you will see all these tabs. And one of those tabs is going to be a group. You'll click on the tab and it should prompt you if you've never had the features before or used this feature before, then it'll prompt you to create a new group. It'll have a little button there that says create group. And you can go from there. So, and then once you have created a group, select that group. And then once you have the group selected, you'll go into the comparison, which is at the top right. You'll see a little compare to feature or button. And I don't remember if it's above or below the date. I think it's right above the date at the top right. And you're going to hit compare to, and then you can select another group and you'll compare those two groups together. So,
yep. We actually, for those of you guys who are interested in diving into this more, we talk a lot more about how to do this inside of Video Labs. If you're not familiar with Video Labs, it's it used to be 8 weeks, and it still is 8 lessons, but we've since turned it into a work at your own pace course. But it's our advanced level YouTube training where you're working through an 8-step process to really infuse a lot of growth onto your channel. And 2 of the sessions in there dive into analytics. One session is all about looking at how do we use analytics about our channel overall to make informed decisions about spotting opportunities for growth and to better craft content and our channel strategy overall. And then another lesson is all about doing that on individual video lesson level at how we better optimize our videos for growth using the data at our disposal in analytics. But groups are one of the big things that we really talk more about inside of Video Labs in terms of how to optimize the channel. And I think you can start seeing how this actually helps us optimize our content strategy from a channel level. So the next session of Video Labs starts on February 7th. And if you go to videocreators.com/videolabs, you can register. And there's some preliminary work to do right now before the Video Lab starts. So even if it's not February 7th, by the time you're listening to this, it'll include 30 days about our YouTube channel, which you'll go through first because that's the foundational level course. And then and you'll have some assignments to work on so that you're ready to hit the ground running February 7th when Video Labs launches at a work at your own pace level rather than what we're doing before, which is this needs to be done this week. These assignments need to be done this week. And if it's not, you're going to be behind because the rest of us are going to keep moving, right? It's frustrating for a lot of people. For the people who kept up with the work, they had amazing, tremendous results, but we're making a little bit more flexible now. Still group coaching program, still have video access to your own dedicated YouTube strategist Monday through Friday while you're working through the material, getting feedback on the assignments and working on implementing what we teach in there on your channel. So it's not like, you're doing this on your own type of course. We're still doing it with you, but in a much more flexible format. So if you're interested in diving in, working with us for at least 8 sessions in there, but honestly, you get access to us for 12 weeks. So inside of Video Labs. So videocreators.com/Video Labs if you want to work with us more in your analytics and even in your storytelling and making better content that really engages people on an emotional level and understanding how the YouTube algorithm works and how to optimize your content for homepage and for suggested traffic and search traffic and all that. That's what Video Labs goes into deep for. So there's a link in the show notes. You can tap and check it out. Just see if it's right for you right now or not, and make that decision and register to reserve your spot for February 7th if it is.
The next unpopular YouTube analytic we have for you guys is average percentage viewed, but in particular separated between non-subscribed viewers and subscribed viewership. I think that pretty much most creators that we talk to nowadays, even though we've been preaching it for years, they know about their audience retention graph, and so now that has kind of become a norm. YouTube has it on the front page, I believe now. If you scroll down far enough, you can see your retention graph on an individual video. Then you won't see it on a channel overall level. But if you go to the analytics on an individual video, then you'll see, just scroll down and you can see that audience retention graph, which I've been thrilled that the audience retention graph is kind of being put in creators' faces because it tells so much about how people like your content, where they're dropping off, are they staying, where are they staying, where are they rewatching, things like that. So most people know about the audience retention graph, but a lot of creators will look at their audience retention graph and they'll be like, okay, my audience retention graph is pretty good, but they may have a higher percentage of subscribed viewers that is contributing to that, flatter audience retention graph. And unfortunately, you can't break the audience retention graph down by subscribers versus non-subscribed viewers. But you can look at your average percentage viewed, which kind of gives you like an overall, like what percentage of the video did they consume. It's a little bit different from the audience retention graph, but it gives you a similar idea. And it can see if you are seeing a drastic difference between your subscribed viewership and how much of the video they're consuming versus non-subscribed viewership, then you're not really doing as well as your audience retention graph might be telling you are, because you have so many subscribed viewerships that are more loyal to you. They tend to watch longer, they're more invested, you have more flexibility in what you can do in the content, and they'll stick around, versus non-subscribed viewers. You kind of got to sit up a little straighter and really put your best foot forward, be more straight to the point, everything in between, because there's much less patience. They're not invested in you. Like to be honest, they're not invested in you. I tell this to creators, they're not invested. They don't care yet. They don't care. So we got to make them care.
Do you do this with new viewers versus returning viewers as well, instead of just subscribed and non-subscribed? Can
you break it down that way?
I don't know. So I was asking you.
Oh, no, I don't think you can, because
that's really what we need is,
because
subscribe versus non-subscribe is the best way we have to do this then. But if we could break down first time versus returning, because we both already said like we don't subscribe to channels. That doesn't mean I'm not really invested into that person's content. It just means like I haven't felt a need to subscribe because you're just in front of me when I want to watch you. So if we could break down,
subscribe is still, it's
still the best way we have right now. But what I really want from YouTube is, I think you know this, is first time, returning, and loyal viewers. And they can't they're not giving us the loyal viewers metric because they're like, well, that means different things for different people. And what makes for a loyal viewer on one channel is not the same thing it makes for a loyal viewer on another channel. So like we can do first time versus returning, but we can't do loyal. I'm like, well, can I make my own definition and apply it to my channel or something. But they said, no,
can you just
Tim,
make this for me?
Yeah. Can I just tell you what it is for me and just put it on just my channel? No one else's.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, but breaking it down that way is still the best way we have to know like what the engagement level is. And what that helps with is knowing like where if this video falls into our 3-bucket strategy, like a discoverable, a community, or a sales video. The sales video, we can track how well that's doing based on conversions, right? Into a sale, obviously. But the community and discoverable, it's like, okay, we're getting views on this, but is it reaching our existing audience or a new audience? And that's where the other metric can be really helpful. But if you're trying to get an average percentage, then maybe subs versus non-subs is still unfortunately the best way to do it.
Yeah. I really am waiting for the day though, because they're coming out with so many exciting features on just like the overview, of just the non-advanced mode is what I'm trying to say. They're coming out with so many great features like the returning viewers versus non-subscribe, but you can't go into advanced mode with any of these amazing features yet. You can't yet. I'm sure they're working on it, but that's where you would probably break that down is usually in advanced mode is where you break that stuff down. You can't take it there yet. So where you would find your average percentage viewed separated between subscribed and non-subscribed viewers is you're going to go into the advanced mode of your analytics and you're going to click on that subscription status tab at the top, and then you're going to add a metric, a little blue plus sign towards the bottom. You're going to add a metric called average percentage viewed, and then you'll be able to see the difference. And the reason that we still know that this gives us an idea, even though it's not a perfect comparison, is you will see that difference between people that are not subscribed versus people that are subscribed, and how I see it in channels all the time. There can be a significant difference. There can be a slight difference sometimes. And this will tell you more about how you need to change. Do you need to change your structure to engage more viewers outside of your existing loyal audience?
You know what channel I don't really watch anymore?
What?
My own.
Video creators?
Yeah. Sometimes Stephanie, my producer, she publishes like a video. I haven't even seen it. I'm just like, oh, cool, a video went up, and like you made it or someone else on the team made it or something, and I haven't even watched it. So there's videos on my channel I haven't watched now. Yeah. Which is kind of cool, honestly. That's a whole different topic. Sorry, I was just thinking like, I don't subscribe nor watch my own content, so I am my own worst subscriber. Anyway. Sorry.
I do say to creators sometimes, I'm like, I'm the type of subscriber that you don't want, because like I won't subscribe. I abandon videos so fast.
Well, when I watch, I'm using the key from a computer, or I'm using the K, J, L keys to skip forward 10 seconds with arrows, skip 5 seconds, and watch it on double speed, giving you like half the amount of watch time you otherwise would have had. Yep. I do the same thing on mobile. So I'm definitely an engaged viewer in that regard.
Yeah.
So
luckily watch time is not an end all be all.
Yeah.
So the last unpopular YouTube analytic that we have for you is a new one. We did talk about new ones. So this one is going to be the only one that's not in advanced mode. And it is other videos that your audience has watched. This one is super valuable if you are running out of content ideas, or if you've ever asked yourself the question, what do my viewers want to see? Like, if I just knew what they wanted to see, I would make it, and then my YouTube channel would be fine. Well, this gives you a great overview of what your audience is watching. It tells you other channels right above the box. It tells you other videos your audience is watching. It tells you other channels that your audience watches, and then right underneath that you've got the other videos your audience has watched. So what videos in particular are they interested in? And it's usually over the past 7 days, so every week you're kind of getting a new cycle of content, and I would keep an eye on that. Since it refreshes every week, I would try to do it on a weekly basis and look into, it gives you an idea of their viewing patterns, the viewing behavior. The more that you can know about the way that your audience behaves on YouTube, the better that you can create content that engages them.
Have you found that that metric typically defaults to the broadest, widest possible content in terms of like for me, it seems like it's content that I've already talked about 15 times on my channel. And I already have every video I want to say. I've already made everything I want to say about that thing I've already said. And I don't want to say anything more about it.
Yeah.
And it's like the broad appeal, which in my niche would be how to get more views on YouTube. How to upload a custom thumbnail. It's like the really basic type of stuff. And I'm like, I'm not even going after that audience anymore. Like, so when I look at it, I'm like, yep, makes sense. And it's all the videos that have the broadest appeal because I have there's the most amount of people revolving around those very entry level type of topics as opposed to the types of topics I want to talk about and pivoting to address, which would be more of those 100,000 to 1 million subscriber range type of questions and business problems and things. So I don't know. Have you found that's pretty broad? And what would you do if you're in my situation with it?
I think that yes, I have found that sometimes, like in some niches, it can be a little less straightforward. And what I would do in that case is I would go to some of your better performing content that is within the topic that you want to talk about more on your channel that attracts the audience that you want to attract. And then I would go into the suggested video traffic of that one and see if you can find other videos that aren't yours. Because a lot of times you'll find your own videos that your content is playing off of each other. So then go into the suggested video of those videos and see what other topics they're watching.
I would probably just do that every time because otherwise I'm going to be stuck making videos about how to get more views on YouTube. And I don't really want to do that. But yeah, it's a good idea going into starting with the content I want to talk more about, and then looking at what videos are suggesting traffic to my video on that topic. And then watching that other person's video to be like, okay, here's what I can learn from this and make a better one myself.
Yeah. And I think that you would know this already, but I'll say it for the audience here is that the reason you would want to go into one that's a higher performer within the topic, that reaches the audience that you want to reach, is because the higher performers are going to have likely the most suggested traffic on them. And so that's going to give you a better idea. It's going to more than likely be suggested next to other videos versus if you went to one that like did not hit home for any part of your audience. It could have little to very little suggested traffic on it. And if you go into that one, you're just going to see all of your own content usually suggested next to each other. So, but yeah, there's two different ways to find videos that your audience is watching and how you can better target them and get to know their viewing patterns and everything in between. So if you ever get stuck in a rut, try to make a habit out of checking on this one on a channel overall level, because that's probably where you're also experiencing that, Tim, is that like since it's on a channel overall level, any of like the top performers on your channel, it's probably comparing it to those.
Yep,
and then, pulling in other videos similar to that. So if you're trying to pivot your channel, then you'd want to focus on the suggested traffic more. But it can be an endless pool of content ideas if you're ever feeling in a rut and you want to try something new or you feel like a little bit out of touch with what your audience really wants. Spend some time in there. Where you would find this is that on a channel overall level, you would be within your YouTube studio, go to analytics, and then I remember I said this is not in advanced mode, so you're just going to click over to that audience tab and then scroll down. It's like there's going to be the overview, and then there's going to be other channels your audience has watched, and then other videos right underneath that, under other videos that your audience is watching. So to find suggested traffic, you'll go to the analytics on one of your videos, and then you'll go into advanced mode and you'll hit traffic source at the top. There's all those tabs, that selection at the top. You'll hit traffic sources, and then you'll see suggested videos as one of those options. You'll click on suggested videos, and then you're going to see the list of content that your video is getting suggested next to. And that should bring up some content ideas of other things your audience is watching, because they're coming from that content into your content. That's what that suggested videos feature is telling you.
Every week, we want to leave you with a power tip, just something practically that you can do on your channel to experience growth. And I think we just gave you a whole bunch of power tips like this entire episode. But
You're welcome.
if you want another one, something that we hear a lot from creators channels who are plateauing is we just ask them, well, how much time are you spending watching YouTube now? They're like, oh, I'm too busy to watch YouTube now. And we think that there's a reason why the best authors are the ones who read the most books. It's because they are exposing themselves to new ideas and new approaches and what's happening out there and other authors. And we've seen that to be true on YouTube. The best creators are the ones who tend to watch the most YouTube. They're getting new inspiration, new ideas, keeping up with trends and getting, and when you stop watching YouTube, a lot of that stuff goes away. So I get it. Like, when you're growing a channel, you don't have time to watch YouTube anymore, but I would encourage you to get back to your roots. It's very common for someone to start YouTube because they watch a lot and then they're like, I could do this. And then they grow and then they stop watching YouTube and then they're wondering why things are plateauing. And there are sometimes a lot of things you can get out of analytics and data to determine that and turn things around. But sometimes it's just like, hey, you're not watching YouTube. Your source of inspiration has gone away. And so get back to watching YouTube. And that's our power tip. So it feels like a really basic fundamental one after everything else we went through.
Yeah, but it's so
it's just
important.
like, guys, watch YouTube. That's your tip.
Yeah. But, hey, fun fact. I started working with a channel. We're starting our second month together. So I've been working with them for a little over a month. And the first month, and especially within the first week, because the first week, they're in our program called the Action Plan. And the first week, like, we have an onboarding call. And then that first week, I'm just going in and pulling all of their analytics. So they're just kind of waiting for me to pull all of their analytics. And then we meet again and we talk about that. So in between that, I told them, all right, it was like a team of people. How many of you guys watch YouTube regularly? And only like one person raised their hand and said, okay, so all of you guys, your homework is to watch YouTube this week, as much YouTube as possible, especially within the niche that you're in. Try to find, I want you to like step into the shoes of the viewer, try to find other channels that are within your niche and see how hard it is, and go from there. Just consume as much YouTube within your niche, outside of your niche, everything in between. And they did come back with a lot more, like I could tell they were a lot more like, okay, I have more vision for where we're going. It really does make a difference.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's the key, is not just passively watching like for entertainment value, like another viewer, but instead you're intently observing. Yeah. Why do I want to click on this title thumbnail versus that one that's presented to me? Why do I feel bored right now? What's holding my attention here? What's not holding? Why do I want to go click on something else? And why am I like, I don't want to watch another video from that person right now? Just observing, not just passively watching. So yeah.
Yep.
There's your power tip for this week. Thank you guys for hanging out with us for another Video Creators Podcast episode. And we'll see you guys again next Monday. So thanks for hanging out, audience, and we'll see you then.